Hey guys, Josh and Chris here from Grappling with another Coffees and Cross Races interview. Today we have Melyssa Hutchinson.
Hey.
Yeah, one of our favorite people in the whole world. Everybody knows her around the East Coast scene, so it's a pleasure to have you today. Melyssa, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, so in St. John for the night. We're down for this interview, breakfast with us, and then we're off to the
AGM for the BJJNB.
Fantastic. Yeah, for those who haven't heard yet, BJJ New Brunswick is now a registered provincial sport organization in the province of New Brunswick. Opens up a lot of opportunities, and we look forward to talking more about that, maybe in a separate segment. But for now, we're here to just welcome Melyssa and talk about all things jiu-jitsu with her. So, one of my favorite questions, I always ask this to everybody, is what does jiu-jitsu mean to you?
What does jiu-jitsu mean to me? Oh man, that's a tough question. Jiu-jitsu for me is a lot of things. It's mental health, it's physical health, it's community, it's learning. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of good things.
Yeah, to be honest, there's not very much that's bad that comes out of it. It's basically good for every facet of life.
Well, there's the injury side. I mean,
You'll never wake up and not feel sore.
you will never wake up and not feel sore. You'll be sore every day for the rest of your life.
But
There's
you'll
that.
like it. You'll like it.
You will. You'll look forward to that feeling.
Yeah. One of the things you touched on there that's, I mean, obviously near and dear to our hearts, and one of the reasons that kind of Grappling really kind of came together is community.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as one of the original kind of gangsters in the Maritime Jiu-Jitsu community, like, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, your experience and the evolution of Jiu-Jitsu in the Maritimes from your vantage?
Evolution of Jiu-Jitsu, yeah. Well, it's grown a ton, obviously. When I started, there was a handful of people training at the club that I was at the time. It wasn't a huge club. There was one other girl that was training, and then my friend Melyssa and I started around the same time. So like females were kind of a rarity. And belts, like it was all white belts. See a blue belt was kind of an amazing thing back then. So yeah.
How many people were training in the province back then?
In the province? Oh, I don't know.
Not many.
Not many. Yeah.
I remember when I started, I saw a purple belt once and I was like,
Oh, purple belts, yeah. It was like a god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I started, John Kelly was a purple belt. He was the first purple.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first one I'd ever seen.
I think
Yeah, I mean, I was in Nova Scotia in the Annapolis Valley, and there was a handful of higher belts, but like my instructor, Patrick Bazina, he was a blue belt at the time.
Well, that's right too. You started in Nova Scotia, right?
I did,
and
yeah.
Moved to New Brunswick. When you moved to New Brunswick, what belt were you?
Purple. But I had gotten my purple in Brazil, so
All right.
it was kind of a convoluted.
We can get to that story.
Yeah.
Well, that's the goal of the question is, so I walked through the evolution. So you started training in Annapolis Valley.
Yep.
All right, and take us through it, like the progression for how we got from there to club owner in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Me, myself, personally?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Oh, fun. My story. Started in close to 15 years ago in the Annapolis Valley with the Abaya MMA and Jiu-Jitsu, and they treated me fantastically. They were a great club. I trained with them for 4 years, I think, maybe 5. And then I got it in my head that I wanted to go train in Brazil. So I did. Off I went. Ended up doing that 3 years in a row. And 2012, while I was there competing, I got promoted by the team that I was training with to purple. Came
Battleground promotion.
What?
Battleground promotion.
Yeah, it was right on the podium. He called me down and handed me the belt. So that was one of my favorite moments of all time. And then I when I came back from Brazil in that year, we immediately moved to Fredericton. So joined Team Synergy. Tried to stick with my Brazilian team for a long time. I really resisted joining BTT, which is like our affiliate at Synergy. I really wanted to stay loyal to those guys in Brazil because they had done so much for me, but there's no academies. There's no Gordo academies, and I think the closest one is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So
Wow.
Yeah, that's not close.
not close. So
Yeah.
I had to give that up and go with BTT, but that turned out to be also a great journey.
Yeah.
Making friendships with the BTT crew in Montreal, and Fabio's been so helpful for me. So yeah.
How long did you resist patching over? Talk about it like we're bike gangs.
Yeah, it was about 1.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was firm. I was like, no, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the first black belt under Gordo in Canada.
So spending a bit of time in Annapolis Valley is obviously a small market.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just like, it's not a huge community, not a huge area. So transitioning from, you know, full-time training in Annapolis Valley to the heartland being Brazil, what was the difference between, you know, Annapolis Valley training to Brazil training?
Well, you talk about at the time, like how many higher level belts there were, and there weren't very many. Landing in Brazil, I walked into a class and there was like 18 black belts on the mats.
I still can't imagine that.
Yeah.
You know, these guys have been doing it a lot longer, and so there was the level was higher. I think the first day I went into roll, they turned on the clock and it said 10-minute rounds, and I was like, whoa, wait a second here, I can handle 5. So you know, just little differences like that. Like the level was higher, they roll longer, they roll harder, but.
What was the day-to-day like? Like you're in Brazil, wake up in the morning, take us through a daily routine.
Oh, my days were fantastic. So I ended up, the second time I was there in 2012, I stayed for a little while. I still had kids. My kids were little at home, but I talked to them every day, and I stayed for 5 months. So I got a job at a hostel, a jiu-jitsu hostel. So I would get up in the morning at 6 a.m., do a few duties, light duties, go to a 7 a.m. class. We trained from 7 until 9. Come home, do a few more duties, then I'd go for a run along the beach. It was kind of like,
sounds
you know,
awesome,
hard to take.
Ooh,
What do you do?
That's like a real rough lifestyle.
Really.
Time to
And-
come home. I don't want to.
Then come back, take a dip in the pool, maybe go to training again in the evening. But typically, if I rolled hard in the morning, I wouldn't. But sometimes there was 2 a day there. It was good times.
Outstanding.
That's awesome. Have you
A little
noticed?
nostalgia, a little sad.
Have you noticed a difference in like the development of class structure?
Class structure?
If you compare like Brazil to North America, like how they teach.
No, not really. No, I think the class structure is fairly similar. The black belt whoever's instructing the class tends to roll in a little late there, you know, and like somebody else gets the things under control and the warm up going. And
I'm noticing a trend where people are starting to eliminate the warm-ups in exchange for just drilling technique.
well, it
The
should be.
warm-up and
I
then-
have always thought that like jiu-jitsu warm up
Makes
should be
sense.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Why are we running laps? Like
Yeah.
old school is like we run laps. Like what? How is that relevant to our sport?
Now, I always try to get to the club before class starts and then pick one of my teammates for a flow roll. And if we roll for 10, 15 minutes before we start, it's just an extra bit of live sparring.
I understand it. It prevents beginners from getting hurt because they're so amped up. They want to go
Yeah,
full
but I
speed.
think like in fundamentals classes and even in our regular classes at our club, like we will go through some jiu-jitsu specific movements, but like, you know, solo drills.
Yeah.
But those are still applicable to our sport. We're like running and shuffling, like
lifting
that
your
isn't-
knees and heels. And
No,
I
we
guess
don't need to
shrimping
do
makes
that.
sense.
Now I will make the kids do it just because I want them to
Suffer.
Simmer down a little bit.
simmer down,
Yeah.
get some energy out.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think get right into technique for sure.
Right, so life in Fredericton now, and for folks that, we did put some posts up on this on the social media, but for folks who don't know, Melyssa is the first female black belt in the Maritimes. So when we talk about being one of the original kind of gangsters of the maritime scene, it really is an accomplishment because this is, honestly, traditionally it's a male-dominated sport. You know, when you mentioned starting in Annapolis Valley, there was one other person also named Melyssa. Did you say that?
My best friend, Melyssa, yeah, we started at the same time. There was a woman that was already training there, Babs, and she made it to purple belt and then left to pursue other things. She's actually an amazing artist. So she had a good run and then decided jiu-jitsu wasn't for her. So she was like a blue belt when I started, and then there were 2 of us, Melyssa and I. Yeah.
Right. So at the time, being in the scene is one of the, and again, even now, there's a lot more females today than I remember when I first started training, and I've only been around the scene for 7 or 8 years. So it's really, really quite something to see the number of colored belts, but the number of color belt female competitors, because I mean, Charlene Barkhouse, Charlene just got her brown,
Yes.
a lot of purple belts around the scene. So it really is growing. It's growing very fast. So when you first started training, like, did you think that was going to be the kind of thing? Did you expect that you were going to get wholly ingrained in this? Were you like, how did you even decide to start training jiu-jitsu?
I started training. I decided to start training for my sons. My older son wanted to try jiu-jitsu, in my head, knowing nothing about jiu-jitsu, it was like, no, that's violent. You can't do it. But he started taking classes, and then I thought that I should give it a try. And I remember my very first class. We learned mount escapes, and it made me feel so powerful that I was like, I'm in. I'm doing this. Yeah. And
My first class was flying arm bars.
Nice.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does your son still train?
No, he doesn't. No, he had a good 7 years under his belt, and then he trained for quite a while. But he's an academic type. He left to pursue. He's in engineering at UMB, third year engineering. So shout out to my kiddo. He's awesome.
Obviously a smart cookie.
He's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
So he's not waking up sore.
No.
Yeah, good for him. When you think about kind of your starting point until now and going through the belts, and obviously now Professor Hutchinson, was there any belt that you would say was like the most important one?
Purple belt for me. I love purple belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when things started to come together. There wasn't any pressure.
Geez, I feel pressure all the time. I feel like I got a bullseye on my back. Yeah.
No.
But purple belt was my favorite. It was also the most meaningful belt. I know I say that, but that's actually not true at all. They were all pretty meaningful. But yeah, I just had the most fun at purple belt level.
I just think it was the coolest color.
Cool color.
Purple is my favorite color.
Yeah, there's also that. Yeah.
I was a little heartbroken when I got brown.
I mean, when you get brown and you're like, this is
it's
not
as cool.
This isn't as pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do want to touch on, you mentioned the first female black belt, and thank you for saying that. But also that was a technicality. Like there are 3 of us in Atlantic, Canada that were all kind of coming up together, Courtney Pratt and Sally. And it was just like, we were all kind of at the same level, and it could have been any one of us. Those women are strong athletes, and I just want to give a shout out to them as well for being part of the original crew.
Yeah, outstanding. And like I say, it's kind of the group of the first ladies, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
So when you think about how the competition scene has changed, walk us through the early. I know you're an avid competitor. You mentioned being on the podium in Brazil. Like, how has been your competitive journey? Talk us about some of the competitions you've been to.
Well, I mean, I don't compete much anymore. I took a hard turn there and moved more towards coaching and reffing, which I really adore, but spent a lot of time competing and really had a good time with that. My very first competition ever was terrible. I had been training for all of 6 months, and there was no female division. I walked in and I was like, well, you can go in the dudes division or you can go home. So.
Did they have anybody near your weight?
145, I think. It was 145 and under, so they would have been like handy to 145. I'm a light featherweight, considerably.
Yeah.
A few pounds below that. But yeah, went in and just got destroyed.
Yeah, even since we've started running tournaments, and I mean, if you've competed for us, you probably already recognize Melyssa because she's probably ref one of your matches. But yeah, we've noticed a huge explosion in the women's divisions. We went from our first event, which was like, 8 women, to actually being able to have brackets and weight classes for them.
And, yeah,
Well,
and that's
awesome.
amazing. I love that so much.
I remember this one time, I'm not sure exactly which event it was, but the absolute bracket for the women had, I think, 14 competitors.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
insane.
it was outstanding. And like that's one of the things that's just so exciting, and talk about the evolution of the scene and seeing more and more people coming up. And it's an area that like I really, when I think about 10 years from now, that's going to be something I think would be the most dramatic change to look back on, is that particular segment of Jiu-Jitsu in the Maritimes. And it's so exciting when you see people getting, promoted online. You're seeing a new color and more color belts, or when you see between events someone comes in with a new blue belt or a fresh purple or something.
When you see somebody get promoted on our podium, that's pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
That was the first time it's happened.
Yeah, that's
last
happened.
event. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
Mike Conley.
Yeah,
Oh,
shout out to
cool.
Mike.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
given a
Purple
purple
belt,
last
yeah.
tournament. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so those battlefield promotions are always special.
Those are
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah.
So when you think about, just training in general, and how you trained as a white belt versus how you're training now, is there anything, like if you were going to give some advice to somebody who is earlier in their journey, is there something you would tell them to focus their efforts on?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, people don't love drilling. The rolling's the fun part. So.
I do.
Do you?
I love it.
Nice.
Nobody wants to do it ever.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning to love it more and more. But people go in and they're like, you demo the technique, they do 5 reps, and then they sit and they chat. They're kind of just waiting for the rolling to start. Yeah. I'm like, no, get those reps in. That's how you get better, is actually drilling the technique. Don't get bored. Don't give up. Just keep drilling. So that's what I would say. I was like, yeah.
So drillers make killers.
Drillers make killers. Don't rush to the rolling. It is the fun part. We'll all agree to that. But there's lots of time for that. And if you drill smart, then you're going to have a better time rolling.
We were like that when we first started out, actually. We wanted to roll all the time.
All the time.
So Chris got mats for his basement. We were rolling for like 2 hours before every class. A group of us would get together, we'd roll, and then we'd go to class, and then, yeah.
Yep.
So shout out to the Dungeon Dojo crew.
Dungeon Dojo.
Including Mike McPartland from Cask and Kettle,
cool.
as a matter of fact. So.
Yeah, that was a good time. But I don't know if it made us any better at all, because like I said, we weren't paying any mind to technique. It was just a bunch of meatheads trying to smash each other before class.
Yeah,
But
we were all
fun.
Which is probably why I enjoy drilling so much now, is because I'm always hurt. So drilling doesn't really, it's not painful.
Drilling is good.
And
if
it
you're
sharpens
injured,
everything. Yeah.
Absolutely, it does sharpen everything. Yeah.
You know, I recall there was one of your fight camps you were getting ready for, and we were rolling in the basement on some Tuesday night or something, and it was basically a series of 30 leg locks going back and forth. It was the worst sparring session I ever had in my life.
I still remember you the next day complaining about not being able to walk. Like, my ankles hurt so bad.
Anyways, good times.
Good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
Now, we do have a bunch of rapid fire Ask Me Anything questions.
Oh, golly.
So do you want to get into those?
Do it. I can't guarantee the best answers, but let's give it a try.
While you're looking that up, I'm going to throw you one out here.
Okay.
As one of the first female practitioners on the East Coast, walk us through the early years of Jiu-Jitsu in the Maritimes.
Well, we touched on that a little bit already. It was, not a whole lot of people training. Competitions were much smaller. And the other thing was, like, there wasn't I think there were like 3 main competitions per year. And now with you guys doing your thing and some of the guys in Nova Scotia, like, you can compete pretty much every month if you want.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool for people.
Yeah, less people stay a lot more active.
Yeah. More opportunities. Early days, fewer people, fewer higher belts. Yeah, all that stuff we already touched on, for sure.
Now, I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask you the question anyways.
Okay.
Gi or no gi, and why?
Oh, God. Gi. Lapels. Easy.
I was going to say, you've referenced yourself as a gi girl before. And
I love rolling no gi. I really do.
But gi's better.
But a gi is better. People argue this with me all the time. I like no gi, but you can't deny those collar chokes. Those are powerful.
I feel like as a smaller person, it's more fun for me because I can, no matter how big they are, I can slow them down with the gi.
Yeah,
and,
I can slow them down, and I can choke a much bigger dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be a harder thing to do if I'm just relying on my arm power.
Oh yeah, they just push me down and flatten me out. No gi, that's no fun.
No.
I have a question. We all try and convince everybody in our lives to join Jiu-Jitsu. What's your how do you sell that?
I let them come to me. I can't.
Oh yeah, you gave up on the evangelism of
pushing.
Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, I did. I used to be like, come try a class with me, to my best friends, and they were like, no, this is terrible. I don't want to do that ever again. So I was like, I just gave up. If they want to, they'll come to me.
Yeah.
They know where to find me.
As one of the OGs in the Maritime Jiu-Jitsu scene, where do you see the future of the sport?
Oh, in the Maritimes?
In the Maritimes.
I don't know. Like, that's a tough question because I'd like to say it's going to keep growing, but we all know that Jiu-Jitsu is not for everybody. It takes a special kind of person to want to try Jiu-Jitsu and stick with Jiu-Jitsu. Lots of people want to try.
Physically, anybody can do it.
Yeah, but do you have it takes a certain amount of mental stamina to stick with this sport.
Yeah.
So I think it'll grow and grow to a point, and then we'll see a cap. Like, we have to. It's just, the population here isn't huge.
Do you have a prediction for the evolution of, I guess, grappling? Because I know that a lot of people enjoy watching the no-gi sub-only stuff online, and I don't know if that's the future, or the more educated the audience gets, maybe they'll prefer gi where there's more options, and I don't know.
I don't know either. I have been really enjoying watching the the online stuff.
ADCC, are you following that at all?
No, not yet, but been watching the Who's Number One.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's awesome to see so many promotions taking off and just producing a lot more content.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Yeah, there's certainly an appetite for it, and there's no doubt the sport is growing and growing exponentially.
Yeah.
And I think you see that everywhere from, we talked about this before, but like the early days of MXC when we were Ciapolista, like I remember training at the Bayside Drive location and, big classes might have been 8 people.
I know, right? Big classes were 8 people. 10 people was unheard of.
Like I remember walking in and actually seeing 4 different like pairs training and being like, oh my God, this place is packed.
Great. And I remember just before COVID hit, our fundamentals classes were getting 30, close to 30, maybe 30 plus on some
We were
nights.
too, yeah.
And then it was we were really physically limited by our mat space, and that was it. There was people coming in all the time wanting to try. COVID changed that a lot, but it's still nice to see people coming in and trying.
Let's actually talk about that, because as a club owner in the Maritimes, obviously going through COVID, it was challenging for a lot of businesses, but arguably none more so than fitness facilities and close proximity fitness like Jiu-Jitsu.
Doesn't get any more close contact than Jiu-Jitsu.
It's pretty intimate spacing, we'll say. What was that as a club owner going through that? Talk us through kind of the stresses or the just dealing with that environment.
Well, it fucking sucked, to be honest. Excuse my language. It was terrible. And it was terrible for many different reasons. I had to give up our previous location. When COVID first hit, nobody knew how long this thing was going to last and when we were going to be able to go back to the mats. And I couldn't keep that spot. So I had to give that up. So then we were pretty much homeless for a while. There was no mats were in storage. It was a heartbreaking time. Nobody had anywhere to train. Even when the restrictions were kind of loosening up a little bit, I think most clubs resorted to the same things of rolling in people's basements, taking the mats outside. I think you see a lot of that on Instagram of people just making it work no matter how they had to do it. And then getting a new location and getting shut down again. And it was just
pretty much right away.
I cried some very real tears over that, but not because of the financial loss. We'll bounce back. But keeping the team alive is really important to me. And knowing that it was hard for my team to not train and frustrating for them, and knowing that they kind of looked to me to provide that for them, and I couldn't do it. And it sucked. It felt terrible.
Well, from the outside looking in, it looks like you handled it like a champ.
We handled it well.
A lot of clubs
we did.
Didn't come back from the homelessness. They shut their doors, and the team just had to
find new
left
places.
to fend for themselves.
Yeah. No,
so
it was priority for me to keep our team together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's one thing we talk so frequently about, just the community in the Maritimes and the relationships you forge through Jiu-Jitsu. And when I first, I'm going to speak from my own perspective here, when I first found Jiu-Jitsu 7 or 8 years ago, it was literally a Kijiji search, and I found John Kelly just on a complete, luck of the draw kind of thing. And truthfully, over the course of those 7 or 8 years, my entire life is veered in an entirely different direction. The relationships and the people that I've met, they're truthfully my best friends.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but whenever we talk about that seems to be the same or a very similar experience for
every
everyone.
Club. Yeah.
So maybe Jiu-Jitsu is kind of a cult. Maybe
It's
that
sort of-
really is
It's kind of a cult.
It consumes your life, but really you've structured your life in this new way where you want to hit as many classes as possible. So it makes sense the people that you're seeing all the time have the exact same interests and hobby as you. So, but yeah, I'm the same way. My group of friends, they all do Jiu-Jitsu.
They all
except
do.
for 3, but I only see them once a month. So.
And if they get out of line, you'll just choke them anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nothing says love like choking your friends.
They're all scared of the cauliflower ears now.
Yeah. Favorite submission, gi and no gi?
Oh, a gi, bow and arrow, definitely.
So I've been bow and arrowed by Melyssa probably 3 times, so I can vouch for that.
3? Just 3?
Maybe I don't know.
Kidding.
Several. It was a short round, and I got bow and arrowed a lot.
I'm undefeated against her.
I will
never
take you on
rolled.
any
We've never
day, bro.
rolled.
Any day. Let's go. I brought my gi.
we're gonna go
Let's
no
do
gi.
As
this.
long as
outside.
we've never rolled, I can still claim that.
No gi, I'd go with guillotine choke.
Guillotine?
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
Yeah.
Favorite personal competition moment is the Battlefield promotion in Brazil.
You know what? I also have another one that rivals that.
Great.
And my poor teammates, they've heard this story 1,000 times, but it was a really good story. So my first time I went to Brazil in 2011, I signed up to compete last minute. So I arrived on a Friday morning. So it was an overnight flight. My competition was Saturday morning.
Gross.
So I had 24 hours to like recuperate from the travel.
Climatize
To Brazil. I'm in Brazil. Oh my God. And go find the competition and go. And there was a small division. I think I was a blue belt, and I think there were like 4 women in the division. But I was there, and I was competing against 3 other Brazilian women, and so I was nervous. My very first match, I was down. She was destroying me, points and points everywhere, mounts and back, and she was just absolutely all over me. And I was down 16-0, and I triangle choked her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's why, like, when you're like your coach is telling you don't give up, that's why.
I love a good comeback like that.
Yeah.
I like watching it too while reffing. It's like you're really losing on points, but you pull out that submission.
You
It's
pull
better
out
than
the
anything.
submission, and then
Yeah.
it's over. It doesn't matter. So yeah, everybody I know and love has heard that story a lot, but it's kind of a good one from the point of like, keep fighting.
For
Just
sure.
keep fighting.
You mentioned nerves. I always like to ask people about how, I guess with experience, does your nerves before competition, how does that evolve over your course of training and the years?
I
on the
used to get really, really nervous, and then there was a big period of time where I didn't get nervous. I was just chill and listen to my tunes and go in and do my thing.
Was that from competition experience, or was that just from
It was
training?
competition experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get out there and compete.
Get out there and compete. Do it. And then my last 2, I got really nervous again.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Was there like a layoff between, or
Oh yeah,
just
big layoff. So
black
I broke
belt
my
pressure,
wrist,
or-
right?
Oh, okay.
And then I didn't train for a really long time,
Yeah.
or I didn't compete for a really long time, and then I went back to it. But I don't think I even competed at brown belt level. Maybe I did. Yeah, I did. I lied. In Montreal, I did. But yeah, it was a big chunk of time in between.
Yeah, it's one of those things like shaking the rust off is even just missing a few weeks of classes for an injury or something is a big
Absolutely.
adjustment.
It is a big adjustment. But you know what? I do want to compete again. And I know I say this every time. I'm like, you know what? I might do that next one. But I really might. I really want to.
That might be coming
Crystal
for
fight.
that belt.
Yeah.
What's
all right.
that?
That's a crystal fight, yeah.
It's going to be a one-sided affair, my friend.
Don't be like that.
World Masters.
I've
I'd go to
rolled
World
with her.
Masters.
What's your biggest pet peeve on the mat?
Biggest pet peeve on the mat. When people make noises while they're rolling.
Yeah.
I hate that. I will stand up in the middle of class and say, get off my mats if you're going to make sounds.
Really?
Oh, I don't like it.
I love that gurgling sound when you drive your fist into their throat.
Yeah, well, I don't mind that. Like they're like choking, making sounds, choking. No, I like when they're talking, when people are talking, banter back and forth. I
You
hate
won't
it.
like rolling with
Well,
me then.
people who have been on like when I'm reffing, they know that because I'll be like,
Oh,
zip it.
so are you talking like in tournaments or in just
Both.
in class?
I just don't like
You don't
it.
like talking during class
No.
either?
During rolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you're rolling.
No, I
Don't
chirp.
make grunting sounds. Don't talk to your neighbor.
I'm real chatty.
Don't chirp the guy you're rolling with.
You're not gonna have a good time rolling with me.
It's all right. I also have a good sense of humor, so I can take it.
Okay. Who are your top 5 most exciting competitors to watch in the Maritimes?
Oh, golly. Well, one of the fun things about reffing is that you get to see a lot of matches,
Yeah.
and one of the downfalls of reffing is that you never remember people's names because you are seeing hundreds of people in a day. So
I'm terrible
putting
with names
names to
anyway.
faces, I don't know. I am partial to watching my own teammates and females who train. So I think I would, if I had to throw names out there, I'd put like Madeline Hughes.
Yep.
Katie, what's Katie's last name? She's from here.
Katie Foley.
Foley, yeah.
Yeah, she's fun. And I'm biased towards my own teammates. So Kent Vino, he's terrible to coach. Sorry, Kent, I love you to death. But he's terrible to coach because he doesn't listen to what the coach
Yeah.
is saying. But to put on a show, he's pretty fun to watch.
I do enjoy watching
Yeah.
because you never know.
Because you never know what
he's
you're going to
gonna
get.
do, Yeah.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
No, I've had the privilege of reffing a bunch of matches for Madeline and Katie, and for actually not Katie. I've never reffed like one of Katie's matches.
I think I ref most of hers.
Oh, when Christine Fader was competing, I think she might be off the mats right now. But when she was
Yeah.
competing, she's fun. Yeah,
Yep.
there's a lot we're lucky.
There's a lot of talent that
They're
people just
lucky.
don't realize. That's why we hope to be able to stream our regular tournaments eventually if we get enough YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things like it's shocking the quality of
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, and like we're a very, very small part of the world.
I
mean,
know.
like Canada's a huge country, and geographically it's massive. Population-wise, we're probably the least dense population area of a very, thinly populated country, and the jiu-jitsu is outstanding.
I know. It's fun.
It's like you said, watching so many, I find it's hard to track the regular brackets. So I really only catch the names from like the absolutes.
I know.
And I feel bad about that, but there's so many
There's so many
names.
people. It's hard to keep
Yeah.
track of. But shout out to everybody who makes it to the competitions because,
Oh, yeah.
like, my goodness,
It's not easy.
It's not easy, and yeah, there's some fun people.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Do you have any tricks and tips on how to fight people that are bigger than you? You must.
Oh, bigger.
Everybody's
I get
bigger.
this question all the time. Bigger than you is weight. Like, don't try to fight their strength. You're not going to. Just wait for them to make the move. If you're stuck under mount, don't try to struggle and waste energy trying to get out. They're gonna have to make a move at some point to attack. That's your moment. Yeah, that's what I say.
Just be unkillable.
Be unkillable. Wait for your moment, and get on top and stay on top.
That's Chris Howder, isn't it? Once you're on top, stay on top. What's the next one here?
How does it feel knowing you're a huge inspiration to many young girls and boys, showing an example of what they can achieve? That's a tough question.
Jeepers. Wow.
You look like you just found out you're an inspiration.
Well, that's am I blushing? How does it feel? I think that I would say it feels probably about the same as everybody else because the jiu-jitsu community is a very inspirational community. We are motivated by everybody else in the sport that we do, and I'm inspired every day by my teammates and my counterparts and my colleagues and throughout Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada, and yeah.
That's true. It is awesome.
We
to
are
see
all,
that
we
many cool
inspire
people.
each other.
That's-
That's how this works.
That
And
is-
I'm inspired by like the people who compete, the kids who compete, the adults who compete. I'm inspired by the people who just get off their couch and show up for class. Like it's cool. That's a tough question, but I think we all inspire each other.
It's tough to leave, whether it's a competition or a seminar or an open mat or a regular class. Like it's tough to, do one of those things and not feel motivated to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
And like when you feel that momentum behind you, it builds for everybody, and everybody's out there pushing each other. And so I think it's a really good response to that question. It's a tough question. That was a great response.
Brutal.
Flow rolling or hard rolls?
Both?
Which ones do you prefer?
I'm not allowed to say both.
Yeah, sure.
Both.
Yeah.
They have their place.
It's true.
So one of my favorite drills is rolling with your eyes closed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We used to do that as white belts,
Yeah.
but never.
I love rolling with your eyes closed because I all of a sudden I'm much better than I actually am because I always can feel people's weight. I have to as a small person. So when I take their sight out of it, I get to shine.
I feel like once our classes got to a certain size, it's just not an option anymore.
It's not. No,
you have to
you-
wear that giant foot coming out of nowhere.
I know you can't do it in big classes
Yeah.
now, but I like hard rolls too. But I think like training with women and men is different for that. I can go harder with the other women. The men tend to be, I think they take it easy on me or something. I don't know. Did you take it easy on me when we rolled?
No. I was busy trying to survive and not get bow and arrowed.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah. That's in your future, by
I
the
take
way.
it easy on everybody's. You're all welcome.
Yeah. You love cranking my ankles and slicing my calves. You know it's true. Don't you fucking laugh, man. You know it's true.
You're not alone though. And start a support group.
Victims of Josh Blanchard.
I don't know if I'm skipping questions here or not. I got them all in order. What's your favorite style of takedowns? Like, do you like judo or wrestling? Sambo style?
I have a very disappointing answer for that.
Oh, don't pull
I
guard.
am an unapologetic guard puller.
Oh.
I want to take that fight to where I want it to be, and I want to waste no time. Take me to the ground. Let's get this thing going. I am. I've always been a guard puller. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know it's a very unpopular opinion. However, if you're it's a ground sport. It's a ground game. I don't want to waste time on the feet.
It's true, I guess.
Yeah, huh?
Next rogue event, -5 points if you pull guard.
Oh God. Am I reffing? Because I'm not imposing that rule. Yeah, terrible answer. Sorry.
What do we got next? Looking back at your jiu-jitsu journey over the years and how you've trained, is there anything you wish you would have done or approached differently?
No, I've had a phenomenal time. I loved all aspects of my training, all phases. I used to train a lot harder, but that was, I think a lot of people do in the beginning. You train hard, then your body starts to wear out, so you have to like taper it off a bit, be a little smarter about it. But
I found once life got crazier, like I, had a family and more obligations, I had to be more focused on my mat time. So before it was just like show up and get some rolls in. I don't care if I learned. Now I go and it's like, I've got 2 hours. I got to learn as much as I can. So I just try and stay focused.
Maximize your time. Well, my youngest was 2 when I started. So I had toddlers and little kids. So, but I used to cart them to the gym with me, and they'd pack them a little picnic. And
you never had the luxury of not having to care about learning.
No. I had to be proficient.
I find I'm as I age and I get older and I go through this, like I try to be really specific now. Like if I'm getting caught a lot in like say bottom mount, like I'm just going to start every round from bottom mount for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Until I get that down to the point where I feel confident that under any weight, any body type, I feel I can survive or escape. So that's been something like you're kind of referencing that, but I've really had to really wanted to apply a lot more focus on how I'm approaching training now, as opposed to when I first started, when I just wanted to get out there and roll all the time.
Smart training. Yeah.
Which is sort of why I was asking if you've noticed a difference between the way it used to be in Brazil and how we train now. I don't know if there's any major differences or if they do it that way. I know some clubs will just teach at random, like the instructor will Google a bunch of YouTube techniques and go in and teach half a dozen of them that night. And then other clubs, they'll sort of have a system and they'll focus on close guard for a month or 6 months and then progress from there. So I don't know if that...
I kind of do it with, when I teach 4 classes a week, and it's the same lesson, all 4 classes. So then everybody gets a chance to drill it. And also if people want to repeat it, then they can come to those
build
classes.
that muscle memory.
Yeah. So I tend to stick with something for a week or 10 days even before I move on, and whatever I do move on to has to apply to that. So, I mean, we just did like half guard passing and dealing with the knee shield and what else did we do? Single X passing, just it all
evolution.
Evolution.
Right.
Yeah. I was always curious.
I don't think it should be random. I don't think so.
I've seen it.
I
So do you track your lessons? Like, do you write it down?
I do. I didn't for years, and then I would look back and I'd be like, what did we do last week, guys? And nobody really remembered. So if they don't remember, they're not learning. So
I found for myself anyways, it was like almost 2 years in before I was really learning anything. I'd go in, I would drill the technique, it's in one ear, out the other, and then it was almost like through osmosis because I'm a terrible learner.
Are you?
Yeah.
But at least you know that. Now you're more focused.
I don't know if it helps, to be honest. I'm pretty bad.
Yeah, I definitely keep track. I want to know
Yeah.
what details I told them last week.
So do you like have a binder system or something of like, this is what I taught in June of 2018? Or...
I have an Excel spreadsheet.
I love spreadsheets.
Some of them will have links to like, I will record it and put it on, like I have my private YouTube, so I will link it to that so I can be like, oh, what was I talking about that day?
Yeah, that's super organized. I like that.
Yeah, I'm very organized.
That made
To
my
a
day.
fault.
That made my day.
I know some people do those like, what are they called? Mind maps or
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love mind maps too,
Models or
buddy.
whatever. So
I don't know
you-
what that is, but
well,
it sounds
they do it-
intriguing.
Flow chart.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a flow chart, but they do it with words, and it's all jujitsu. So each blurb is like this long,
Yeah.
and then every technique leads to an offshoot of another, and all your options and stuff like that. And some guys are just really organized. Must be Excel, I assume. It's all witchcraft to me.
Excel is genius.
Yeah. I know you're very active even outside jiu-jitsu. How do you manage your lifestyle to prevent burnout or fatigue?
I have too much energy and I can't sit still, so there's no burnout. Yeah, I just do it. I don't know. There's no answer to
Do you have like recovery systems, or
When I get injured, I take time off. It's a terrible system. Doesn't work.
So you don't have like
recommend.
a post-class routine or pre-class routine?
I do mobility work in the mornings, like probably 5 mornings a week. It doesn't take very long. It's like a 15-minute routine, 10 to 15 minutes, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, what's that include?
Yoga type movements, but
like the gymnastica naturale. Is it still called that?
Yeah, no,
It's still called that.
yeah, not really like that. No, more yoga-y.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only do yoga when I'm hurt. I know I should do it more often. But
Yeah, it's not actual yoga, but it's
got
like
zero
stretching and
flexibility.
mobility. You need it.
Yeah.
Everybody needs it, especially if you do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. People think I'm really strong. It's just no, my limbs just don't bend.
There's definitely a block there.
Yeah. No, I've got a foam roller, 3 foam rollers, and I've got to use it for like at least half an hour before class.
Oh yeah.
Or otherwise I can't
You're
move.
getting old there, Josh.
I am.
Mm.
I've started taking like supplements and vitamins and stuff like that just to stay alive, I guess. Do you worry about like you do a lot of cycling? Do you worry about hydration or anything like that between biking and class?
I do hydrate fairly well, except this morning with my coffee, but coffee and Bailey's.
The breakfast of champions.
Yeah. No, I do. I hydrate
Chris
well.
just has a mug of gin. It's not even coffee.
Just some rum for breakfast. I hydrate well. I eat well. I do. I'm allergic to everything, so I have to be very focused on my nutrition.
Yeah.
So,
You glaze over that, but it's super
it's
important.
actually really important.
Yeah.
And I think because I eat well, that probably saves a lot of injury. Just not having inflammation in my body chronically. Yeah.
One of my training partners was complaining last Monday. He barely made it through the drilling just because he had 6 little candy bars from his kid's Halloween stash. He was dying.
That will
like
change
he was
things for
like
you.
he couldn't
Yeah.
breathe. I was like, man, I don't
There's
know.
a piece of advice for newbies, like watch your nutrition, watch your
Yeah.
hydration. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem like relevant, but it totally is.
Took me a
It's
long time
literally fuel for your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed a lot more of the advanced belts at our club are just they're fast before jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
They won't eat at all. I've recently adopted it, mostly because of my scheduling, but I always like to have something in my stomach before training. But I don't know. It's been working good.
Yep.
I feel like I move better.
Cool.
So Mike's been right.
What would you say to somebody who wants to try jiu-jitsu but is hesitating?
Just get on the mats, bro. Come on. No, sorry. No, seriously though. Just do it. You have to take the plunge. You have to go outside your comfort zone. That's how you grow. It's hard, but all good things are a little bit challenging. It's worth doing. Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny. I noticed the sport growing. I talk to people, even coworkers, that they'll actually watch jiu-jitsu, but they've never done it. They don't even know anybody. They don't think that they know anybody who does it. And they meet me and they're like, "Oh, that's super cool. I'd love to come learn." It's like, "Come on and learn."
Like,
no, I
no.
don't want to.
Oh, and people think that they have to get in shape to like.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot.
Before
Hear that all
I want
the
to
time.
get in shape before I try. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You will get in shape
Yeah.
from the class. It's,
You just lose weight learning.
Yeah.
It's really tough too to find any other kind of training that would approximate the type of fitness you'll develop through jiu-jitsu. Like
Yeah, you can.
it's the closest thing I've ever found is kettlebells, I think.
Okay.
And like I love kettlebells personally.
Bulgarian bag.
Bulgarian bag, also a
Very
good one.
close.
I
Yeah.
find for me mountain biking because I'm more of a outdoorsy kind of person. Mountain
I was
biking
going to
is
say sadistic.
mountain biking kind of simulates it in that you have to like push really hard. You're pushing really hard, and then you have to like hold something isometrically for a little while. And jiu-jitsu is kind of like that too. So, yeah,
How long have you been biking?
not that long, but I raced for a couple years, and that was pretty fun. I don't know. I got a new bike this year. Not new to me. A gravel bike. So now it's like it looks like a road bike, but it has like bigger tires, so you can go different places. And I've explored quite a bit of. Well, I was gonna say New Brunswick, but Fredericton area, anyways, on the bike.
Your
It's fun.
cardio must be insane from biking all the time.
Insane. I don't know, but it's decent. It's decent. It's not terrible.
Yeah. My cardio is trash.
Get on the bike. Run.
The bike is just suffering. So is running. Well, for work, I walk like between 20 and 30
You do,
kilometers
yes,
a day,
that's
right?
right.
So when I get off work, I don't
You
want
don't want to be on your
run.
feet anymore. No.
That's why I recently picked up kettlebells. Just,
Yeah, that makes sense. Kettlebells are good.
It's
I
helped
like
with my
that.
mobility quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I find like with kettlebells for me, the thing that I find most directly applicable to Jiu-Jitsu is it's an asymmetrical resistance. Like you're never like with a traditional dumbbell, you've got like an equal distribution of weight on both sides, and the ballistics of a kettlebell, like
These are all
swinging,
great
snatching.
More flash words, please.
More flat. I sound like I'm like a shares in a kettlebell company or something. I don't, by the way. But it's the thing that I've found personally the most directly applicable because you do get the resistance elements, you do get a lot of cardio, your heart rate gets pumping quickly. I mean, I know you've been doing two-hand swings for speed here lately.
It's been crushing my cardio, I think. Like I remember I took some time off in the summer for barbecuing and drinking and health reasons.
Yeah.
So when I came back in September, I was dying. I'd be good for like a minute and a half, and I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Everybody's working over. I was like, I got to get some cardio, and so I started HIIT training with the kettlebells, and it's coming back now. I'm moving good and I'm able to stay on top and pressure and keep pushing because there's nothing worse than that feeling where you're in a position where you're like, I know what I can do right here if I just explode, and there's no explosion happening because your body's already dead.
Yeah. No, that's not cool.
It's heartbreaking.
You gotta stay current.
So let's talk about kind of a training regimen. And like you mentioned some mobility work 5 days a week, you teach class 4 days a week, you cycle. Like do you have a structured kind of training regimen for your week to week or?
I don't. I used to be very structured. It was, mobility this day. There was always 2 things a day, but it'd be mobility and jujitsu or strength training and running or whatever. However I built it, I would put a lot of time into building my programs. But no, I've decided I'm going to do things more for fun these days, and now I kind of wing it, which isn't the best approach. But I've also been doing this a really long time, and I know that there's peaks and valleys, and I'm going to go back to a training program at some point, probably when I start competing again. But like I didn't race this year. I didn't do anything that required a structured program. So I did more things more for fun this year.
It's probably easier with more experience to just listen to your body anyways. And
yeah, it's true.
Do
Like
what
you kind of, if you have good intuition and good body awareness, you know what you need that day. Like I need to move. I need to lift some heavy things. I need some jujitsu. You know.
Yeah.
Josh needs chocolate.
Chocolate.
I run on chocolate, yeah. I ate a lot of dark chocolate. Probably too much.
Speaking of nutrition.
I'm alive?
Yeah.
There's a great plug for nutrition right there. In a mostly male-dominant sport, what advice would you give women who want to start in BJJ? And actually, I know at the same time, you've had a huge success with the women's program from pre-COVID. Talk us through that.
Women, it's a hard sell, to be honest. Jiu-Jitsu is one of those, like, the only sports where women and men train together. Like, there's women's and men's hockey teams. They're separate. Women's and men's volleyball. Like, all those sports, they're separated. But in our sport, we train together. And that's, I think that's a challenge for some women coming in. It's a little bit of fear factor for them and not wanting to have that. But also, training with just women isn't realistic either. So I do like women's only classes, but that shouldn't be your only experience. I think you need to get out and train with some dudes as well.
I always wondered about that. Like if it's a hindrance to their training to only train with women, because really, if you're using it for self-defense purposes, it's not going to be a woman your size that's attacking you usually.
I think it is a hindrance. Like I love training with women too. I mean, clearly, but it's a different thing. Men and women move differently. They think differently. They react differently. What was the original question?
What advice could you give women who want to start BJJ?
Do it.
Just do it. Same advice as the other things. Just get on the mats. No, it's scary. So find somebody that you're comfortable with and start there.
Do you have like a process? If you, let's say, a woman wants to start your club, is there a process that you'll put her through where you find you're getting more of them to just stick around longer?
I don't know. I tried a couple different methods. Like I did a women's only thing for a while, and it was like an intro. So they would get just like, here's the fundamentals, here's the basic positions.
And then progress from that to the co-ed?
And then once they're done that kind of program, then put them into the regular program. But then none of those women stayed. And so I think it's more like it's just women who want to get out and train. They will. If they want to do it, they will. I don't know.
So this is from Tori Smith, who's a young competitor that I believe you'd be familiar with.
Yes.
Very good competitor.
Very good competitor. She says, I often fight larger male opponents. Do you have any tricks and tips on, oh, you already had that question, didn't you?
I don't think
Tips
I
and
did.
tricks on how to deal with people who are bigger than you?
Different question, but
Different question, but similar.
Yeah, just be patient. Yeah.
Patient, pick your moment.
Yeah, defend well, and keep yourself safe, and then pick your moment. Yeah, that's pretty much how you have to deal with it.
protect your neck.
Protect your neck, keep your arms safe, and don't let them take you back. You know, all of the standard, obvious things, but just be patient.
Well, I'll say as a small guy in jiu-jitsu, like that's one thing that like we both came from a wrestling background.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this a few times, but like one of the challenges in kind of transitioning from wrestling to jiu-jitsu is just being comfortable on your back, because that's the exact opposite of what you want to do in freestyle wrestling. And trying to break that programming of like, you need to get your shoulders off the mat, or you need to be explosive, or you're going to, be pinned in 2 seconds. That's a tough one to kind of deprogram.
Yeah. For sure.
And getting just acclimated to being under, getting smashed, you're just going to have to get used to the fact that you're going to be on bottom for a while, and you're going to have to get used to the fact that people are going to overpower you. Is something that I think takes some time to actually get that switch to go off in your head, but when it does, it can make a big difference.
It does make a big difference. And to be honest, like if I was a woman, I am a woman. If you were in a self-defense situation, my attacker is going to be bigger than me, and my job will be survival until I find my moment to flee the situation. So if I'm using it for self-defense, I do want to practice that patience anyways. Like, yeah.
Now, is there a lot of like a self-defense component to how you approach teaching?
No, not really. There used to be, and I really love teaching self-defense seminars, which I used to do a lot more of, but COVID. No, it's pretty much just kind of sport.
I find the student interest has changed quite a bit with the popularity of competition.
It has.
So it's been interesting to watch that too.
Yep, for sure.
Now all of a sudden classes are sort of structured to that, mostly the IBJJF rule set. It was like, this is what you want to do in this position to get your points. And
Which, like, to be fair, here's another unpopular opinion, or maybe popular, I don't know. I studied the IBJJF rules. I know them well. I don't love them.
no, I don't think anybody does.
No,
Like,
and I would love to get a group of people from Atlantic Canada together to like some of the old school people, and like, let's make a rule set for Atlantic Canada that makes more sense than IBJJF. Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh God, let's do it.
Yeah, we've actually discussed it before that we'd like to do our own rules.
Okay.
But we'd have to have everybody on board.
You would
'cause
have
don't
to have
want
everybody
people
on
to be
board.
confused on it. But
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and that's what I find frustrating about going to some events where they're like, we're going to borrow these rules from from IBJJF, but we're going to borrow these rules from over here, and then you're melding them together. I'm like, that's fine, but it has to be clear to everybody. I would love that, because I mean,
what are some changes that you'd like to see, or what bugs you about the IBJJF?
oh, that's.
We
Aside
need more,
from the fact
we
that
need
it's
more
not a real
coffee for
government
this
rule.
question.
Some of the illegal moves, a lot of the stalling rules. Like, I don't really think that people should ever get penalized for stalling. Like, you are.
It's a tactic.
It's a
to
tactic to
win.
win. Okay, yeah, there's that. But also, like, you see some people who are like, yeah, I'm trying to pass the guard. I'm trying to.
Yeah.
And then they get penalized for stalling.
And then it comes down to reffing, though, doesn't it?
It does come down to reffing. Yeah, and you do need good refs, I guess. No, there's the point system. I don't really love the point system either.
Yeah. I don't find the points is super complex, but then you add in advantages, and then all of a sudden people don't understand it. Even all the refs aren't clear on how it works. So
It's true, and it's not that it's complicated. It's just I just don't agree with all of it.
yeah,
But
Do you find that it like rewards the wrong behavior, or what?
guard pulling.
hey, oh, wait a second. Yeah, I just think there's a better way. Yeah, a way to see people attack more rather than try to win on points.
Fight to win via submission.
Yeah, fight to win via submission.
Like
You're gonna have to go through a hierarchy of positions to get your dominant position.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna, but I don't know if you necessarily need to be awarded points for that. I mean, they do need a system for in the end. Like, there's no sub. How do we know who wins? But you can base it on aggression. You can base it on attempts. Like,
So do you like the ADCC rule set where there's no points for the first X amount of minutes and then the last there is points? Or?
no, because that also doesn't make sense. Like, what about what happened previously? Like,
so in your mind, there's really no current perfect rule set or favorite.
I would say that currently I don't mind the who's number one rule set right now.
Okay.
I'll probably find some holes in it, but I think that's what I'm digging the most right now.
My favorite is no time limit, sub only.
Yeah, well, that obviously.
It makes things so much easier, but to run, you couldn't run a full event.
You couldn't run an event like that.
Yeah.
And,
I would love
and then
to.
there's kids. Like kids definitely need points. Like they need to keep it short and sweet and have a good experience.
Kids are hard to watch compete sometimes because there's even at the same belt level, there's such a disparity in skill
Or size.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, certain kids. Yeah,
Not all 7-year-olds are the same size.
Yeah. He's got 60 pounds on the other one. I was like, there's no way you're the same age.
Yeah, I know.
Do you find that challenging as an instructor too, to pair them up and teach them? I don't really do anything with kids, so I don't know.
A little bit, not really. To be honest, I've stepped away from my role in teaching the youth in our club.
It's for blue belts anyway.
It's for blue belts. I let the other my partner, my business partner Greg, take that over because he's really good at it. He's got little ones in the program and
makes a difference.
Yeah, and I taught kids for a long time, and I'll come back to it, but I needed a break.
Yeah, well earned. Yeah. How important do you think it is to train at different clubs?
Very. So important. I'm a huge fan of training at different clubs, traveling to train. You need different perspectives. You need people who teach things just a little bit differently than you do or that your club does. Because I don't believe that there's one right way to do things. There are better ways to do things, but the old school mentality of like, this is the way you do it and you don't stray from that. I don't like that. You go to different clubs, they teach things differently. They roll differently.
You pick up one little detail.
Little detail. And then bow and arrow chokes don't work in my club anymore because people know they're coming. But then I can train with Chris.
And I get choked every
I still got
30
it.
seconds.
So is there a way that you choose where you're going to train? Like, let's say you're going to a different city, not quite so local to Fredericton. How do you go about choosing a club to drop in on?
I have my favorites, and I will also look at their female population of their members. If they have a lot of females, as particularly closer to my size, I'll pick that.
How do you find that out? You just know because the Maritimes are so small? I mean, if you're going to someplace in Ontario for a day or something.
I haven't been to Ontario. I don't like Ontario. Sorry, Ontario people. Montreal, I always train at BTT, obviously. And I know there's some really high-level women there to train with, and the guys too. They're phenomenal. I haven't traveled in a while. I went to Ireland a couple of years ago, but I just trained at my friend's club. That's the easiest way to go.
Yeah.
I'm planning a trip at some point, a little Jujutsu sabbatical, and do a little training trip.
Any idea where yet or not?
I kind of like the idea of Charlotte because my old teammate has a club there, and Lucas Laprie is there. And
okay. Yeah.
I think it would be a fun place to go, or maybe somewhere else. I don't know.
I don't think you can go wrong, but I've always liked the idea of training in the tropics.
Yeah.
But every time I've gone south, I'm nervous.
Nervous? Oh, you'd love that. That'd be good. I've never trained in like the Caribbean. You mean
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never trained there.
Yeah.
Should.
Something about machine guns walking the street freaks me out. So.
You're stereotyping now. Come on, it'd be good.
That's not a stereotype. I saw it.
Yeah. Well, that's the conclusion of the Ask Me Anything question. So.
Okay, those are tough. Good question.
Is there anything that you would want to, throw out there before we wrap up today? Anybody you want to shout out to? Anything at all?
No, thanks, boys. Shout out to you guys for continuing to drive forward through COVID times and get Rogue out there, get people competing. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
I know we appreciate that for sure. It's I think everybody in the Jiu-Jitsu community has had a rough go through COVID because it is, like we talked about, it's one of those kind of cult things. Like we all fall into it. Your friends are there. It's where most of us, I think, find the majority of our stress relief.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of taken away from you for a stretch of time, and like, yes, people will find a way. Ideally, they'll be able to find a way to get out there and train and be able to still find that release. But COVID definitely made it hard, and there's a lot of people you didn't see for a long stretch.
A lot of secret training.
A lot of secret training.
We know
Backdoor, like
we know you were all doing it.
Yeah.
Nobody took time off.
Nobody
We're all
did.
liars.
Yeah. Shout out to my teammates. They're awesome. Love them. Cool guys and gals.
Awesome.
Yeah, it does become a bit of a family, and every time we get out, we see either people at a training at their club popping in as a visitor, because we both try to roll in different cities whenever we're traveling. But whenever the community comes together for a tournament, like I say, we talked earlier, it's so hard to not leave that and feel inspired. Like you want to get back in there and kind of get into your next training session, try to find that next detail that you want to work on for yourself. So I just keep hoping that we're going to find more and more opportunities to do that. Things will get more and more normal.
More and more normal. Cheers to more and more normal.
Yeah, I'll drink to that.
All right.
All right, very best. Well, guys, thanks for joining us, and obviously, Mel, thanks again for all you do in the maritime scene. Say one of the most prolific refs, always out there, as a great ambassador for the sport. So we're always a pleasure to see you.
Thanks, man.
Very happy to have you. Gonna say thanks to our sponsors here before we wrap up. Kiro, Break New Ground, Fight Supply, Creative Lifestyle Studio, obviously Jordan here filming and documenting the maritime jiu-jitsu scene once again.
Technacity, who's now under new ownership. If you haven't found that out yet, go check them out. I think they have some new gear dropping soon too.
Yeah, also obviously on that note, Dan Vanderland's been moving to Alberta. So Dan's been a mainstay of the maritime community for a long time. We did have him on for an earlier edition of Copies and Crossfaces.
Go check that out if you haven't seen it yet.
And brother, we're gonna miss you. Best of luck out there. We have obviously the Cask and Kettle, who has been so generous to let us film here. So whenever you're out eating here in St. John or KV, definitely pop into the Cask. And Collins Tours. So get away, get inspired as COVID becomes a little more, hopefully, in the rearview mirror. The opportunities to travel will hopefully become easier and easier. So definitely check them out. They have all kinds of vacations, day trips, week-long, overseas, states. They got all kinds of options.
If there's anything else, if there's anybody else you'd like us to sit down with, just reach out and tell us. We've got no problem traveling to meet and talk with people. And if you want to watch it, we'd like to do it.
Love the suggestions. And as always, like and subscribe on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, social media stuff.
Maybe TikTok soon, I don't know.
Oh, heavens. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.